It's the book of John, chapter 7, and verse 33. Then, then said Yahushua unto them, Yet a little while am I with you, then I go unto him that sent me. Ye shall seek me, and shall not find me, and where I am, thither ye cannot come. Verse 35. Then said the Jews among themselves, Whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone, and shalom to the elect of Israel. This is the Mayim in Atlanta, and I wanted to take a look at John 7 and verse 35, especially considering the dispersed among the Gentiles. Because the scattering, the diaspora, the dispersion, so-called Christians do not want to acknowledge this because they want to say that everybody, well, they'll even acknowledge it, but they still want to stick to everybody can be saved. But the Gentiles in the New Testament are really talking to Israelites, and especially those of the dispersion that didn't realize that they were actually Israelites, or even some knew that they were Israelites, but still chose to go after the customs of the actual Gentiles, the natural Gentiles that cannot be Israelites. But let's take a look at 7 and 35 in a different translation. So we'll start out at the NLT. Actually, we'll start out at the NKJV, which is the New King James Version. It says, Then the Jews said among themselves, the Judeans, speaking of the southern kingdom, mostly of the tribe of Judah, but the southern kingdom is contrived of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. These are people that nowadays, in modern times, are known as the Negroes, especially here in America. The Negroes here, and then down in Jamaica and the islands, as well as Haiti, so-called Negroes. And we're dispersed all throughout the earth. So you've got Negroes in the UK and in Scotland. That's a big deal right now, talking about the Negroes or Judites in Scotland. But we've been scattered everywhere as well, even speaking to this. But it says, Then the Jews said among themselves, Where does he intend to go that we shall not find him? Speaking of Yahushua, where's he going? Which he was about to be put up on the cross, and his time there was over, and going back to sit at the right hand of Yahweh. He was saying you can't go there. He also had sheep in other lands, speaking of the northern kingdom, that he had to teach as well. So everybody couldn't go. But he says, Where does he intend to go that we shall not find him? Does he intend to go to the dispersion among the Greeks and teach the Greeks? So even here, they, instead of putting Gentiles, they put the Greeks, because the Hellenization period was a huge deal for the Israelites, forcefully made to forget our heritage. And so in the New Testament, where you see Greeks and Grecians, the word there is usually Hellenist or Hellenista, and it's speaking of Greek-speaking Jews. It's talking about Israelites that either spoke Greek and were acting like Greeks, or Israelites that were that same thing, were under under Hellenism, but didn't even realize that they were actually Israelites. It's always speaking of Israelites. Anytime there's salvation and it's speaking of a Greek, it's speaking of an Israelite. And then where it's talking about destruction, it's talking about actual Gentiles. Like you have, actually, let me just get it, where it talks about raising up your sons, O Greece, against our sons. Yeah, Zechariah 9 and 13. When I have bent Judah for me, so the southern kingdom, so called Negroes, filled the bow with Ephraim, Ephraim's speaking of the northern kingdom, Latinos and Native Americans, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, so talking about the Israelites as a whole, against thy sons, O Greece, so against thy sons, O Greece. This is speaking to the Edomites because they moved into Greece and took over from the Japhetic people and started calling themselves Greeks. So, talking about the Israelites, you could relate this right to Amos 9 and 11 and verse 12. And made thee as the sword of a mighty man, because the Lord is going to raise up his people and give them spiritual power and putting down all of the other nations, but especially the Edomites who call themselves Greeks. So if Greeks could be saved, then Zechariah 9 and 13 would be a contradiction. But it's not, because it's not talking about natural born heathen or Gentiles. It's talking about Israelites in a Gentile state of mind. Let's keep going down. In the ASV, you see it says Greeks as well. Let's get the BBE because I love that version. So John 7:35 in the BBE. So the Jews said among themselves, to what place is he going where we will not see him? Will he go to the Jews living among the Greeks and become the teacher of the Greeks? Is he gonna, this is talking about Israelites because you don't teach the other nations. They're outside of the temple, outside of the sanctuary. So he's talking about Israelites dispersed or scattered, living among the Greeks. Right here, the AMP. Get it again. It says, then the Jews said among themselves, where does this man intend to go that we will not find him? Where's he going? Does he intend to go to the dispersion of Jews scattered and living among the Greeks and teach the Greeks? So it's showing Greeks there twice. Among the Greeks and teach the Greeks. So among the Gentiles, among the Greeks, among the Edomites, among any of the other nations that are calling themselves Greeks, because there was a Hellenization period in which Alexander conquered the known world at that time, and everybody took on these ways of the Greeks or of the Edomites and teach the Greeks. Teaching Israelites that are calling themselves Greeks and thinking that they're Greeks, but they're not. Let's also go to the interlinear and get this word for dispersion, for the dispersed. And it's Strong's G 1290 diaspora, which that's the word for scattering. A scattering, a dispersion of Israelites dispersed among foreign nations. And even here, the Christians are, in B, it says, of the Christians scattered abroad among the Gentiles. You can only be a Christian if you are an Israelite, because this book is only for the Israelites. It's only for the elect of Israel, of that. So only a portion of Israel, not even all of Israel, just a portion. These are the only people that could be true Christians. And this is just a part of worshiping the Lord in spirit and in truth, because you have to find out these things which have been mysteries for so long, but now it's being revealed. If you're saying that everybody could be saved, you are adding on and you're taking away, which completely takes away your opportunity to be saved. Just read Revelation 22. It talks about that. Adding on to the book. Then the plagues are going to get added onto you. And taking away, your name's going to be taken away from the book of life. which it was never in there in the first place if you're saying this and can't repent by the time Yahweh Shai comes back. The Strong's definition for diaspora, dispersion, specially, concretely, the converted Israelite resident in Gentile countries, which are scattered abroad. And so let's go check out. Actually, let's go to Deuteronomy 28, because this goes back to the curses that were put on us for disobeying the Lord. So Deuteronomy 28 and verse 64, which the Lord presented us with the law, statutes, commandments, and basically we signed a blood contract that if we did these things, we would receive life, and if we didn't, we would receive death. And we receive these curses, and it's a lot of curses from Deuteronomy 28:15 on down to 68. This is why so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as our scattered, who are going to look like the other nations, this is why we are in such poor condition, because we've been under these curses. The Lord wounded us with the wound of an enemy. But we're at the end of it, and these curses are about to be put onto our enemies. But Deuteronomy 28 and 64, and the Lord, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, shall scatter thee. So we just saw that dispersed, scattered, all going to the word diaspora in the New Testament, the Greek word. Same thing here, even though this is Old Testament and this is a Hebrew word. But it says, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods. So we've been scattered to the four corners of the earth, been in these Gentile mindsets, because the Israelites have the one true power, the Most High, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, but the other nations, their gods are all idols. And we were serving idols in a Gentile state of mind, which if we're serving other gods, you're not thinking like an Israelite, because why would you serve a lesser power, something that's just made up, when you actually have the true power, and he's delivered us many times. But specifically speaking of ancient Egypt, he delivered us out of ancient Egypt, and we saw the great plagues he put on Egypt and the great destruction, and we saw the great cloud above us, which is a chariot hovering above us as a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. We saw all these things, but still went after other gods that could not save us. So we deserved this because we couldn't help it. It says, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Worshipping Christianity and so-called white Jesus. We're in Islam. Some of us are even in Judaism, being an actual Jew, but studying under the fake Jews. We are everywhere. There's Israelites that are atheists, and Israelites that are Satanists, and Israelites that are Mormons, which is crazy. Israelites that are Buddhist and Taoist and Hindus, and every religion under the heaven, under the sun, Israelites do, showing that we are these people, because these curses would be for a sign and for a wonder on the true people of the Lord, which these other people claiming to be the people are not the people at all, because they would be under these curses. They would be the tail and not the head. They would have been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. But in going, especially when they went back to, or went into for the first time, really, I mean, there's ancient history there, but when they went into Israel during the Balfour Declaration, when they declared the land unto themselves, they would have been coming from all around the world, because they would have been scattered everywhere if they were the true people. But really, they just came from Europe. And then they also let some of the Ethiopians in, the Philistian Jews in, but they don't treat them as equally. They even let some actual Israelites in, but they don't treat them equally. They're set up near a nuclear power plant or some nuclear place over there in Dimona. The true gathering of the Israelites has not come yet. And also, there would be no war if those were really the people. But we're talking about the actual dispersed of Israel, so we'll get back to that. But let's get Baruch, because it speaks to this scattering as well. Baruch 2 and 30. For I knew that ye would not hear me, especially these Israelites that still call themselves Christians. Their minds have been seared with hot iron, because it is a stiff-necked people. And this is speaking to the Israelites. We are stiff-necked. The Lord also calls us sottish children, which is stupid. We're not listening. But the Lord has blinded a portion of us. He's blinded a portion of the whole world, really. And people are having a hard time understanding that, we people at the bottom of society all around the earth are actually the Israelites. The Israelites sit in low place. It says, but in the land of their captivities, showing that scattered, because we would be scattered among the heathen, and serve them as servants, as slaves. And we still be in these lands when Yahushua returns. But in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. Because if you remember in Jeremiah 17:4, the Lord said that even Jeremiah would be discontinued from his heritage, which I wasn't expecting to get that either, or this Baruch, but we might as well get it. Jeremiah 17:4, and thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. This is discontinuing from the land, discontinuing from knowing that we're Israelites, discontinuing from everything the Lord gave us. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies, which, according to Psalms 83, all the nations are the enemies of the Israelites and of the Lord. Also showing they can't be saved. They're enemies. Why would you save enemies? And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, because we've been scattered. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. So this is also showing the scattering. It's showing the captivity, but in the land of these captivities, after we've been scattered, we will remember ourselves. But you can't remember yourself if yourself was never taken away, if your heritage was never taken away. Also showing that those people aren't the people. When did Jeremiah 17:4 happen to them? And then when did their scattering occur? When was their gathering from the four corners of the earth? When did that occur? It didn't. And they haven't had to remember themselves. This all would have happened before 1948 if that was true. But what they're doing is not true. But let's go to Maccabees, First Maccabees, which is what I wanted to go to earlier, because we were looking at the scattered and just talking about the Greeks. And so here's when we were under the Greeks, because you go to the top, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. Stead goes into stock. So of his race, first of his race, over Greece. So Edomites, he was an Edomite. Go to chapter 4, the last verse in that, and it'll talk about how these are Idumeans. But under these Idumeans, in which Alexander actually treated the Israelites well, but once he passed and Antiochus, the Seleucids, took over, we caught a lot of hell. And some of that hell, or a big part of that, was they were trying to make us discontinue from our heritage, which some of us did. And then the ultimate falling away from our heritage occurred during slavery, during the sub-Saharan slave trade and the transatlantic slave trade. We completely forgot who we were and just became black people. People of no understanding, void of light, wicked people, evil people, because that's what black means. But as it said in Baruch too, in the land of their captivities, ye shall remember them yourselves. That remembrance is here. The book has been unsealed. The new song is out. But 1 Maccabees 1 and verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom. And I think he was the king of the south, if I'm correct, because Alexander appointed, at his death, he appointed different sections of the land that he had conquered unto his 4 generals: Seleucid, Ptolemy, Cassander, and Lysimachus, into 4 different sections. And then, of course, they can't get along, so they warred, and they just became the king of the north and the king of the south. And I believe Antiochus is the king of the south. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he's the one that was over Israel at that time. But getting back to it, 1 Maccabees 1 and 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. So, all you guys come under the Greek banner. Be Greeks. Be Hellenized. And so, in the New Testament, it's talking about these Greeks. This is what happened to their forefathers at the time, because this is about 300 years before Yahushua. It says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. Everybody come be Greeks. And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. So they all became Hellenized. Yet many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. And it's the law, statutes, commandments of the Lord that really sets us apart or separates us from these other nations. That's what makes you an Israelite. So if you're not practicing the law, statutes, and commandments, you are just you're a Gentile, you're a heathen, you're a Greek. Why they were calling them Greeks. It says, for the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. Here's what you had to do. And it says, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple. So we couldn't make up for our sins. We couldn't please the Lord. And it says, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days. So don't celebrate this. Celebrate Saturnalia with us, and celebrate Lupercalia with us. Celebrate all these other profane heathen days, which those 2 that I just said were Roman days, but nonetheless, they're all pagan festivals, and our people are still celebrating pagan festivals with Christmas, which Christmas is just a form of Saturnalia. Lupercalia goes into Valentine's Day. We still celebrate all these things. Easter's just the celebration of the Queen of Heaven. Queen of Heaven worship. It's a fertility ritual. That's why they have all those eggs and bunnies, because bunnies are known as being fertile. Eggs show fertility. And the Queen of Heaven, you'll see that statue with all the titties all over it. It's all bugged out, weird stuff that our people are still doing. But as he said in Baruch 2, going back to that, he knew that we would not hear him because we are a stiff-necked people. Still don't want to hear it. It says, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people. Holy means separate, but we're polluted having them there. But it was all our fault. This happened because we broke the law, statutes, and commandments. And the heathen, the Lord's sword, which are the Edomites, were sent in to punish us. It says, and set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. And we're still in the groves. Going to college, it's basically going into a grove. That's why they have the Ivy League for these higher up colleges. Still doing these things. It says that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, which there's nothing wrong with going to college, but you do get into, or you're bettering yourself, but it's not in the true wisdom and knowledge at all. I went to college, but I digress. Going back to 48, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, so quit following the holy procedures, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. Profane is to be outside of the temple. It says, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And that's what happened. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. And so if you didn't do these things, you were made an enemy of the state and would get put to death. You see in 2nd Maccabees, it shows some of these gruesome deaths with the old man that refused to, which I'm forgetting his name, but he refused to eat pork. They put him to death. And then you got the 7 children with the mother, 7 sons with the mother. They refused also, and they put him to death in heinous manners. Esau is going to have to pay for this, also showing that they can't be saved. They can't be saved. They have to pay for this. Do you not want wickedness to be punished? How could you not want wickedness to be punished? But going into Revelation, because we're going to try to end this. And there's many, many scriptures you could go into about the scattering, the diaspora. But these are the ones on the docket for today. Because we've been scattered, but the Lord's also going to gather. Revelation 5 and verse 9. And they sung a new song. It's the doctrine, which this new song's really an old song. It's the truth of the scriptures, which hadn't been out. The book's been sealed. Daniel 12, chapter 12 talks about, seal up the book and stand in thy lot in the end of days. This book has been sealed, also showing that Christians have no idea what they're talking about. They reject the Hellenization period, which forfeits their ability to understand who the Gentiles and who the Greeks are in the New Testament. Stand on that. If you don't understand the Apocrypha, you do not understand the New Testament. You don't understand it. Not everybody can be saved. It's not that hard to understand. And this book even talks about how we've been lied to. This book is sealed. We've been lied to and given a false doctrine. But now it's time. And the Lord winked at that for a while, so you don't have to think of your big mama or whoever that passed away years ago still calling on Jesus, so-called Jesus. Think about the future and those that are going to be saved. She'll be fine if she was an Israelite. She'll be born back into the kingdom. But this book has been sealed. We've been going off forever. But the Lord's having mercy and it's unsealed it. Even this chapter 5 of Revelation, is going into Yahushua unsealing the books. He unsealed the understanding, unlocked it, and he's giving it to his men to teach the truth and tell the truth on the highways and byways. It's time for every man to repent that's an Israelite. It says, and they sung a new song. So the truth that's foreign to this world, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain. Yahushai. Yeah, this is the opening of the book. Thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to the Most High by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. He was slain. He was that perfect sacrifice for the Lord to bring his people back from that losing of our inheritance and being scattered and being under the curses. You can't be redeemed if you're not under the curses and you're not under your enemies. So that's part of being redeemed out of the hands of our enemies, being redeemed out from under these curses, being put back into our own land, and having that second covenant, which only speaks to Israel, again, the second covenant, and that being put into our inward parts so that we never go off, so this never happens again. Going back, Salakia, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to the Most High by thy blood out of every kindred, and it had to be done by blood. The first covenant was done with blood. It was sprinkled onto us. And Yahushai, the water Yahushai, the water Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, had his own blood shed for us to get us back. This is huge. By thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation, it has made us unto our power kings and priests. This was only said for the Israelites, that we be made into kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. That reign is for the Israelites. It's the kingdom of Israel, the kingdom of Yahushai, the kingdom of heaven. It's only for Israel. That's why there's only 12 gates with the different tribes on it, but no gates for the Greeks, no gates for the Edomites, no gates, and even Greeks. Greek doesn't go back to a nation. Yeah, there's Javan, but actually Slocky. I don't want to say that because I need to go back through Genesis 10 and through the table of nations. But there's no gate saying Moab on it. There's no gate saying Esau on it. It's only for the Israelites. But I wanted to get that word for kindred from the interlinear. Thou wast slain and hast redeemed us by blood out of every kindred. That word there is Strong's G 5443, Fule. And it's a tribe in the New Testament, all the persons descending from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob. Israelites. We're scattered and we shall be gathered. This is a nation of people, a race or clan down here, kindred tribe. So we're scattered to all of the other nations. We're going to come back looking like these other nations as well. There's going to be Israelites that resemble Greeks. There's going to be Israelites that resemble Edomites and Moabites and Elamites, who are the East Indians, the Moabites being the so-called Chinese, like Japanese, which are the Ammonites. We're going to look like Hamites. It's going to look like Ethiopians. Going to look like everybody on this planet, because we have been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. We've been scattered. And that was the scattering. But Yahushua is going to redeem us, as we just read in chapter 5 of Revelation, and set us back in our own land. And there none shall make us afraid, in which those people over there in the land are being made afraid, showing they're not the people. This hasn't happened. The redemption has not happened yet. But it's coming. And so, Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rekach Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.